The text came in at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Working late again, honey. Don't wait up. L. I stared at my phone screen, the blue light casting shadows across our king-size bed that felt more like a canyon these days. Lauren's side was cold, had been for weeks now. The sheets still smelled like her expensive perfume, but that was about all that remained of my wife in this house. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Working late. Right. If by working she meant screwing her way up the corporate ladder, then sure, she was putting in overtime. My name is Gabe Atwood, and I'm 35 years old. I manage IT projects for Meridian Corp., a mid-sized consulting firm downtown. Not glamorous, but it pays the bills and keeps me invisible enough to watch the real players make their moves. And boy, have I been watching? See, the thing about being married to someone for 8 years is that you learn their patterns. Lauren used to text me goodnight when she worked late. She used to complain about her colleagues, especially that smug bastard Evan Pike from upper management. She used to come home smelling like the office coffee and stress sweat. Now she comes home smelling like expensive cologne and guilt. I rolled out of bed and padded downstairs to our kitchen. The granite countertops gleamed in the moonlight streaming through our bay windows. Everything in this house screamed success, from the hardwood floors to the stainless steel appliances. Lauren's success, mostly. She made twice what I did in HR, and she never let me forget it. The coffee maker gurgled to life as I hit the preset button. 12:15 a.m. Perfect time for some detective work. Lauren's laptop sat closed on the kitchen island where she'd left it. She thought she was so careful, but she'd made one crucial mistake. She'd married an IT guy. I knew her passwords, her habits, her digital footprints better than she knew mine. After all, who pays attention to the tech support husband? The laptop hummed awake. Password: Success First 2023. Subtle, Lauren. Real subtle. Her email was a goldmine of corporate gossip and strategic positioning. Lauren Atwood, senior HR manager, was apparently quite the office politician, but it was the hidden folder labeled Personal Projects that made my blood run cold. Email after email to EP, Evan Pike. The same Evan Pike who'd been to our house for dinner parties, the same Evan Pike who'd shaken my hand and called me buddy while apparently planning to screw my wife. The emails started innocent enough 3 months ago. Work stuff, project coordination, the usual corporate dance. But they'd evolved into something else entirely. Can't stop thinking about yesterday in the supply closet. Gabe's working late tonight. My place at 8? L. He's so clueless. Sometimes I wonder why I married him. L. That last one hit like a punch to the gut. 8 years of marriage, and I was clueless. 8 years of supporting her career, moving cities for her promotions, playing the dutiful husband at company parties where she'd introduce me as, just my husband, he's in IT. Just, like I was an afterthought. I scrolled through more emails, my coffee growing cold as the evidence mounted. They weren't just having an affair, they were planning something bigger. References to after the divorce and when we're both free peppered their exchanges. They'd been discussing my flaws, my shortcomings, my apparent inability to amount to anything significant. Lauren's words from the screen burned into my retinas. Gabe's sweet, but he's never going to be more than middle management. I need someone with real ambition, real power, someone like you, E. Sweet. That's what you call a dog, not a husband. The front door's electronic lock beeped at 1:23 a.m. I closed the laptop and slipped back upstairs, leaving the coffee mug in the sink like I'd just gotten up for water. The bedroom door was cracked when Lauren's heels clicked across the hardwood below. I lay in bed, eyes closed, breathing steady. She moved through her nighttime routine with practiced quiet, shower, skincare, silk pajamas. When she finally slipped into bed, she smelled like soap and lies. "Hey," she whispered. "You awake?" I mumbled something noncommittal and rolled away from her. Her hand touched my shoulder, a gesture that once would have comforted me. Now it felt like a spider crawling across my skin. "I love you," she said into the darkness. The words hung in the air like smoke. 3 little words that meant absolutely nothing coming from her mouth. I wanted to roll over and confront her, to throw Evan Pike's name in her face and watch her scramble for explanations. But something held me back. Maybe it was the IT guy in me, the part that knew you don't reveal a security breach until you've figured out how to exploit it. Maybe it was the husband in me, the part that still couldn't quite believe the woman I'd loved was capable of this level of betrayal. Or maybe it was something darker, something that whispered in the back of my mind that Lauren and Evan had made a critical error in judgment. They'd underestimated the clueless husband. They thought I was just another IT drone, invisible and harmless. They thought I'd roll over and accept whatever scraps of affection they threw my way. They thought I was weak. They were about to learn how wrong they were. But first, I needed more information. In IT, we have a saying, trust but verify. Lauren had broken the trust part. Now it was time to verify everything. I closed my eyes and started planning. Tomorrow was a new day, and Gabe Atwood, the sweet husband who'd never amount to anything, was about to become their worst nightmare. The best part? They'd never see it coming. Wednesday morning arrived with the kind of gray drizzle that makes everything look like a noir film. Perfect weather for what I had planned. Lauren was already gone when I woke up. Another early meeting, according to the note on her pillow. The note was a nice touch, really. Almost made her seem considerate. I took my time getting ready, letting my mind work through the possibilities. 8 years in IT had taught me that information was power, and right now I was operating on incomplete data. Lauren and Evan thought they were being clever, but they were amateurs playing in my domain. Meridian Corp's downtown offices occupied floors 12 through 18 of the Hartwell building, a glass and steel monument to corporate ambition. I'd been walking these halls for 3 years, invisible as wallpaper, watching the office politics play out like a soap opera. Now I had a starring role, whether I'd auditioned for it or not. My first stop was Mason Torres, my only direct report, and the closest thing I had to an ally in this place. Mason was 26, brilliant with code, and cynical enough to appreciate a good revenge plot. He was also ambitious, which made him useful. "Morning, boss," Mason said as I approached his cubicle. His workspace was a controlled chaos of energy drink cans, programming books, and action figures. "You look like someone stole your lunch money." "Something like that." I pulled up a chair. "Mason, how would you feel about a special project? Something that might fast-track your career advancement?" His eyes lit up behind his thick-rimmed glasses. "I'm listening." "I need you to run some network diagnostics. Specifically, I want to know about unusual file transfers, email patterns, and access logs for certain users." I handed him a list with Lauren and Evan's employee IDs. "Think of it as a security audit." Mason's grin was pure mischief. "Unauthorized access to company resources is a serious violation of policy." "Exactly. And as IT security, it's our job to identify potential risks. When do you need this?" "Yesterday." Mason cracked his knuckles. "Give me 2 hours." While Mason worked his magic, I had my own reconnaissance to conduct. The beauty of being in IT was that nobody questioned your presence anywhere in the building. Need to check the network connection in HR? Of course. Updating software in the executive conference room? Absolutely. Installing security patches on Evan Pike's computer? Just doing my job. Lauren's office was on the 15th floor, a corner space with floor-to-ceiling windows that screamed success. Her assistant, Marcy, was a 20-something social media addict who knew everyone's business and shared it freely. She was also exactly the kind of person who'd crack under pressure. "Oh, hi, Gabe," Marcy chirped as I approached her desk. "Lauren's in meetings all morning. Should I tell her you stopped by?" "Actually, I'm here about the network issues you reported yesterday." I held up my tablet, looking official. "Mind if I run some diagnostics on your system?" Marcy waved me toward her computer. "Go ahead. It's been so slow lately." As I pretended to run network tests, I kept up casual conversation. "Busy week for Lauren?" "Oh my God, yes. She's been working crazy hours lately. All these strategy sessions with the executive team." Marcy lowered her voice conspiratorially. "Between you and me, I think something big is happening. She's been meeting with Evan Pike almost every day." "Evan Pike? The guy from Strategic Development?" He's gorgeous, isn't he? If I weren't dating Brad." She giggled. "They make a good team, though. Very professional." Professional. Right. "Has Lauren seemed stressed lately?" I asked, keeping my tone concerned and husbandly. Marcy's expression shifted to sympathy. "A little, maybe, but you know how she is during busy periods. She's so dedicated to her career. You're lucky to have such an ambitious wife." Lucky, that was one word for it. I finished my diagnostics and headed back to Mason's cubicle. He was waiting with a printed report and a USB drive. "Boss, you're going to want to see this." Mason's voice was low, excited. "Your security audit turned up some interesting patterns." We moved to an empty conference room where Mason spread out his findings like a detective laying out evidence. First, the email traffic. Lauren Atwood and Evan Pike have been exchanging an unusual volume of messages, including several sent after hours and on weekends. The content is encrypted, but the metadata tells a story. What kind of story? The kind where two people are communicating way more than their job functions require. But here's the really interesting part. Mason pulled up another document. File transfers. Someone's been moving documents between their accounts. Personnel files, performance reviews, strategic planning documents. My pulse quickened. That's a violation of data security protocols. Gets better. I found evidence of external email forwarding. Someone's been copying company communications to personal accounts. Mason grinned. In IT terms, that's called data theft. I studied the reports, my mind racing. Lauren and Evan weren't just having an affair, they were potentially engaging in corporate espionage. Whether they were planning to jump ship together or just covering their tracks for the affair, they'd crossed a line that could end both their careers. Mason, I need you to document everything. Create a comprehensive security report, but don't file it yet. Can you also set up monitoring on their accounts going forward? Already on it. I've got alerts set up for any unusual activity. Mason paused. Boss, can I ask what this is really about? I looked at the young man who'd just handed me the keys to Lauren's destruction. Let's just say I'm taking network security very seriously these days. The rest of the day passed in a blur of routine meetings and system updates, but my mind was working overtime. By evening, I had the skeleton of a plan forming. Lauren and Evan thought they were playing chess while I played checkers. They were about to learn that I'd been playing a completely different game. I got home before Lauren for once, ordering Chinese takeout and opening a bottle of wine. When she walked through the door at 7:30, I was the picture of domestic contentment. Hey, beautiful, I said, kissing her cheek. She stiffened slightly at the contact, but recovered quickly. This is nice, she said, eyeing the spread. What's the occasion? Can't a husband surprise his wife? I poured her a glass of wine. Besides, I feel like we haven't talked much lately. I miss you. Something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or annoyance. I've just been so busy with work. You know how it is? I do. Marcy mentioned you've been working closely with Evan Pike on some big project. Lauren's hand tightened almost imperceptibly on her wine glass. Evan's a valuable team member. We're collaborating on some strategic initiatives. Sounds important. Maybe I could meet him properly sometime, invite him and his wife over for dinner? Evan's divorced, Lauren said quickly, and he's very private about his personal life. Ah, I nodded understandingly. Well, work relationships can be complicated. We ate in relative silence, Lauren checking her phone periodically. Each buzz and beep was probably Evan, wondering why she wasn't responding to his messages. The thought made me smile. You seem happy tonight, Lauren observed. Just thinking about the future, I said, about how things might change. Change how? I met her eyes across the table. You never know what tomorrow might bring. People think they have everything figured out, and then life surprises them. Lauren studied my face, looking for hidden meaning. She wouldn't find any. Not yet. I was still the same sweet husband she'd married, the same clueless man she was planning to leave. But tomorrow, the real game would begin, and Lauren Atwood had no idea she was already losing. Thursday brought sunshine and opportunity. I'd spent half the night refining my strategy, and by morning I was ready to make my first real move. The beauty of a good plan is that it looks like coincidence to everyone else. My target was Dina Walsh, Lauren's best friend and fellow HR manager. Dina was the kind of woman who collected secrets like jewelry, always acquiring new pieces and never hesitating to show them off when it served her purposes. She was also fiercely loyal to Lauren, which made her both dangerous and useful. The company cafeteria at 10 a.m. was perfect for accidental encounters. I timed my coffee run to coincide with Dinah's usual break, carrying my laptop bag like I was between meetings. Gabe, Dina's voice carried across the seating area. What a nice surprise. Join me? Dina was attractive in the way that HR executives often are, polished, professional, with smile lines that could indicate warmth or calculation depending on the situation. Today, her expression was friendly curiosity. Thanks, Dina. How's the chaos treating you this week? Oh, you know how it is. Never a dull moment in HR. She stirred her latte thoughtfully. Lauren's been burning the candle at both ends lately. I keep telling her she needs to slow down. Yeah, she's been working some crazy hours. All these late meetings and strategy sessions. I sipped my coffee, projecting mild concern. I worry about her burning out. She's definitely been stressed. All this work with the executive team, plus the Pike project. Dina caught herself, looking like she'd said too much. Pike project? Oh, just some strategic planning stuff with Evan Pike. Nothing major. Dina's recovery was smooth, but not perfect. You know how these cross-departmental initiatives go. I nodded like I understood completely. Evan seems like a good guy. Lauren speaks highly of him. He's dedicated. Something in Dinah's tone suggested she knew more than she was saying. Very focused on his career advancement. Aren't we all? I checked my watch. Speaking of which, I should get back. Tell Lauren I said hi if you see her before I do. Will do? Oh, and Gabe? Dina's voice stopped me as I stood. Take care of yourself, and Lauren. She's lucky to have someone so understanding. Understanding. There was that word again. I was starting to hate it. My next stop was the 16th floor, where Evan Pike held court in strategic development. I'd only met him a handful of times at company events, but I knew his type. Tall, confident, with the kind of easy charm that opened doors and legs in equal measure. He was everything I wasn't, politically connected, naturally charismatic, and completely without scruples. His office was smaller than Lauren's, but positioned strategically near the executive suite. The door was open, and Evan was on a call, gesturing animatedly with his free hand. He looked up when I knocked on the door frame. Hey, Gabe, right? Lauren's husband? He covered the phone's mouthpiece. Give me just a second. I waited while he wrapped up his call, studying the office. Expensive suit jacket hung on the back of his chair. Framed photos of Evan at various company events, always positioned prominently near important-looking people. A small stack of HR documents on his desk, unusual for someone in strategic development. Sorry about that, Evan said, hanging up. What can I do for you? Just wanted to introduce myself properly. Lauren mentions you two have been working closely together, and I realized we'd never really talked. Evan's smile was perfect. White teeth, just the right amount of warmth. Your wife's amazing, really sharp, great instincts. We make a good team. So I hear. She's been putting in some long hours on your project. Yeah, well, when you're passionate about something, time flies. Was there a double meaning there, or was I reading too much into it? Lauren's got real executive potential. She's going places. She's always been ambitious. I paused, like something had just occurred to me. You know, we should all grab dinner sometime. You, me, Lauren, maybe this weekend? Evan's composure slipped for just a fraction of a second. That would be great, but I'm actually pretty swamped this weekend. Rain check? Of course. Well, I should let you get back to it. I turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, one more thing. I'm updating our network security protocols, and I noticed some unusual file access patterns. Nothing serious, just wanted to make sure everyone's following proper data handling procedures. This time, Evan's reaction was unmistakable. His jaw tightened almost imperceptibly, and his eyes sharpened with something that looked like concern. File access patterns? Routine audit stuff. Making sure sensitive documents aren't being transferred to unauthorized locations, that sort of thing. I smiled blandly. I'm sure it's nothing, but compliance is compliance, right? Right, of course. Evan's voice was carefully neutral. Well, if you need anything from my end, I'll let you know. Nice talking to you, Evan. I left him sitting at his desk, probably wondering exactly what I knew and how much trouble he was in. The seed was planted. Now I needed to water it. My phone buzzed with a text from Mason. Got something big. Conference room C in 10 minutes. Mason was practically vibrating with excitement when I found him. He'd spread printouts across the conference table like a war room briefing. Boss, your timing is perfect. I've been monitoring those accounts like you asked, and they're panicking. Show me. 15 minutes after you left Pike's office, he sent an encrypted message to Lauren. Then Lauren tried to access the file transfer logs from her terminal. Mason grinned. Guess what? She doesn't have permission to view those logs. But we do. Exactly. And here's the beautiful part. She then called Pike's extension, and they talked for 12 minutes. Right after that call, Pike tried to delete several files from his shared drive. I studied the timeline Mason had created. My casual mention of file access patterns had triggered exactly the response I'd hoped for. Guilty people always overreacted. Can we recover the deleted files? Already done. Pike's not exactly a tech expert. The files are still in the system backup. Mason handed me a folder. Personnel evaluations, salary information, strategic planning documents. All stuff he shouldn't have access to. And Lauren gave him access. Looks that way. There's a clear pattern of her forwarding documents to his personal email, then him downloading and storing them locally. This was better than I'd hoped. Not only were Lauren and Evan having an affair, but they were also engaged in serious policy violations that could result in termination for both of them. I had them dead to rights on corporate misconduct, and they just confirmed their guilt by panicking. Mason, I want you to create a comprehensive report documenting everything. Timeline, file transfers, policy violations, the works. Make it bulletproof. When do you want to pull the trigger? I thought about Lauren coming home tonight, probably stressed from her conversation with Evan. She'd try to act normal while wondering what I knew and what I was planning. The uncertainty would eat at her. Not yet. Let them sweat a little. Guilty consciences make people sloppy, and I want to see what other mistakes they make. You're enjoying this, aren't you? I looked at the evidence spread across the table, proof of my wife's betrayal and her lover's corruption. 3 days ago, I'd been the sweet husband who'd never amount to anything. Now I held their careers in my hands. Mason, I'm just getting started. The rest of the afternoon passed quietly, but I could feel the tension building in the office. Word travels fast in corporate environments, and my casual questions to Dina and Evan would generate gossip and speculation. By tomorrow, half the company would know that IT was conducting some kind of security audit. I went home early, stopping to pick up flowers and Lauren's favorite wine. When she arrived at 6:30, I was waiting with dinner and a smile. You're in a good mood lately, she said, accepting the flowers with a puzzled expression. Just appreciating what I have, I replied, pouring the wine. How was your day? Fine. Busy? She was distracted, checking her phone more frequently than usual. Gabe, have you been talking to people at work about anything unusual? Define unusual. I don't know. Network security, file transfers, that sort of thing. I pretended to think about it. Oh, that. Yeah, we're doing a routine security audit. Standard IT stuff. Why? No reason. Just heard some people talking about it. People like Evan Pike? Lauren's wine glass stopped halfway to her lips. What makes you say that? I ran into him today. Seemed a little nervous when I mentioned the audit. I kept my tone conversational. Guilty conscience, maybe. Don't be ridiculous. Evan's one of the most ethical people I know. I'm sure he is. I raised my glass. Here's to ethical people and the choices they make. Lauren clinked her glass against mine, but her smile was strained. She spent the rest of dinner distracted and quiet, probably wondering how much I knew and what I planned to do with the information. The beautiful thing was, she was asking the wrong questions. It wasn't about what I knew, it was about what I was going to do next. And Lauren Atwood, for all her ambition and intelligence, had no idea what was coming. Tomorrow, I'd make my second move, and by the time she figured out the game we were playing, it would be too late for her to win. Friday morning brought rain and revelation. I woke to find Lauren already gone, another early meeting, but this time she'd left her personal laptop behind. In her haste to get to the office and coordinate with Evan, she'd made her first major mistake. The laptop was password protected, but Lauren had always been predictable. Success First 2024 got me in on the second try. Her personal email was a treasure trove of information that made the office communications look tame. The affair had been going on for 4 months, not 3 like I'd originally thought. It had started at the company retreat in Denver, a weekend of team building that had built something entirely different between Lauren and Evan. The emails painted a picture of 2 people intoxicated with each other and drunk on the thrill of deception. But it was the recent messages that made my blood boil. Gabe's getting suspicious, Lauren had written 2 days ago. He asked about you specifically, and yesterday he was acting strange. We need to be more careful. Evan's response was pure arrogance. Let him suspect. What's he going to do about it? Guy's a middle manager in IT. He's got no power, no connections, no backbone. Even if he found out everything, who's going to believe him over us? Still, Lauren had replied, maybe we should cool it for a while, just until things settle down. No way, I'm not hiding anymore. Besides, won't matter much longer anyway. My divorce lawyer says I can file next month, and you said you're ready to leave Gabe. Why pretend? You're right. I'm just being paranoid. Gabe's too trusting to figure it out, and too weak to do anything even if he did. Too weak. Too trusting. No backbone. I stared at the screen, feeling something cold and hard crystallize in my chest. They weren't just betraying me. They were laughing at me. In their minds, I was already defeated, a non-entity whose feelings and future didn't matter. They were about to learn how wrong they were. My phone buzzed with a text from Mason. Emergency. Need to see you ASAP. I found him in the parking garage, pacing nervously by his car. The underground space was empty, except for a few early arrivals, our voices echoing off concrete walls. They know? Mason said without preamble. Pike came to see me an hour ago, asking about the security audit. Wanted to know specifically what we were looking for and who authorized it. What did you tell him? That all IT security matters were confidential, and he'd need to speak with you directly. Mason looked worried. But boss, he wasn't asking nicely. Guy was trying to intimidate me. That was a mistake on Evan's part. Mason might be young, but he was loyal, and threatening him had just escalated the situation. Did he say anything else? Yeah, and this is the weird part. He offered me a job. I stopped walking. What kind of job? Said he was aware of some upcoming opportunities in strategic development, positions that would be perfect for someone with my skills, better pay, better prospects, better future. Mason's expression was grim. All I had to do was be a team player about the security audit. He tried to bribe you, or recruit me. Either way, it felt dirty. Mason pulled out his phone. So I recorded the conversation. I listened to the audio file, my anger building with each word. Evan Pike's voice was smooth and confident, offering Mason career advancement in exchange for burying the security investigation. It was bribery, pure and simple, and it was exactly the kind of overreach that would destroy him. Mason, you just handed me a loaded gun. What's the plan? I thought about Lauren's dismissive comments, about Evan's arrogance, about 4 months of lies and betrayal. They wanted to play hardball, fine, but they were amateurs, and I was about to teach them how the game was really played. First, we document everything. The bribery attempt, the security violations, all of it. Then we wait for them to make their next mistake. And if they don't? I smiled, and Mason actually took a step back. Trust me, they will. The office was buzzing with tension when I arrived. Word of the security audit had spread through the building like wildfire, generating the kind of paranoid speculation that thrived in corporate environments. Everyone was wondering what IT had found and who was in trouble. I made a point of being visible, walking the halls with my tablet and looking official. Every time someone asked about the audit, I gave the same response. Just routine security maintenance. Nothing to worry about if you've been following proper protocols. The phrase, "if you've been following proper protocols," was doing exactly what I'd hoped, making guilty parties sweat while reassuring innocent employees. Around 10 a.m., I got a call from Lauren's extension. Gabe, could you come up to my office? I have a technical question about our file sharing system. Her voice was carefully neutral, but I could hear the strain underneath. Be right there. Lauren's office felt different this time, smaller, more confined. She was sitting behind her desk in full professional mode, but her body language screamed tension. Thanks for coming up. I wanted to ask about the security audit I keep hearing about. What about it? Well, some people are concerned about privacy, about what kinds of communications might be monitored. Lauren's hands were folded on her desk, knuckles white. I assured them that IT respects employee privacy. Of course we do. We're only interested in policy violations and security breaches. I sat down across from her, maintaining eye contact. Why? Is there something specific you're worried about? Not worried, just curious. What exactly constitutes a policy violation? Oh, the usual stuff. Unauthorized file transfers, sharing confidential information with external parties, using company resources for personal business. I paused. Why do you ask? Lauren's composure cracked slightly. No reason. Just want to make sure my team is in compliance. I'm sure they are. You run a tight ship, Lauren. Always have. I stood to leave. But if you do discover any violations, you'll report them immediately, right? That's what the employee handbook requires. Of course. I was almost to the door when she called my name. Gabe, are you okay? You seem different lately. I turned back to look at my wife, sitting in her corner office with her perfect view and her guilty secrets. She looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of her deception. Different how? I don't know. More confident, maybe. Like you know something I don't. I smiled, and for the first time in weeks, it was completely genuine. Maybe I do. The rest of the day passed in a blur of routine tasks and strategic positioning. I made sure to have casual conversations with key people throughout the building, dropping hints about the ongoing investigation and watching the gossip network do its work. By 5 p.m., the pressure was showing. Evan had called Mason twice more, each time more insistent about clarifying his earlier offer. Lauren had sent me 3 text messages asking when I'd be home, unusual for someone who typically worked until 7 or 8. I decided to let them stew over the weekend. Guilty consciences and 2 days of uncertainty would make them even more likely to make mistakes. But as I was packing up to leave, my computer chimed with an urgent email. The sender was an address I didn't recognize, but the subject line made my blood run cold. We need to talk. The message was brief. Gabe, I know what you're doing. Meet me in parking level B2, northwest corner, 6 p.m. Come alone, or this gets very complicated for everyone. It wasn't signed, but I knew who'd sent it. Evan Pike had just made his biggest mistake yet. I looked at the clock. 5:45 p.m. 15 minutes to decide whether to meet him or let security handle it. 15 minutes to choose between playing it safe and taking control of the situation. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the elevator. Evan wanted to talk? Fine. But he was about to learn that threatening me was like threatening a man with nothing left to lose. And I was done losing. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching,